Hi, how are you? I hope you're having a great day. When you see this, it will be the Tuesday after Christmas. Tomorrow is the Thursday before Christmas, and we have a bad snowstorm brewing in with high winds. Not a good combination. So our Christmas event with our kids that was planned tomorrow will be canceled. And we're in the works of figuring out another day for it. It'll have to be a weekend. That's okay. Can't control the weather. I mean, it's how life goes sometimes. But how was Christmas for you? Did you spend it with the family? Do you still have some events coming up like us? We've still got a couple of Christmas parties yet to attend. Statistics can be scary, especially if you're talking about health topics. In a study released in February of 2018, 1,704 fibromyalgia patients were found to be more likely to develop dementia than other individuals. There were 124,836 people in the control group. That's a pretty big study. The study does not suggest that dementia is imminent or even common in people with fibromyalgia who are over age 60. The rate of dementia is, simply put, increased. Just over 4% of fibromyalgia patients in this study developed dementia, compared to 1.2% of the control group. It appears that if you have several overlapping conditions like depression, stroke, liver disease, or whatever may be your condition, the risk factors went higher. However, if you are taking therapeutics for diabetes, high blood pressure, or even high LDL cholesterol, they have no effect on your risk of developing dementia. The subtypes of dementia affecting individuals with fibromyalgia were that of Alzheimer's at a 3.35-fold increase, or a little over 3 times as likely. Non-vascular at a 3.14-fold increased risk, and vascular dementia at a 2.72-fold increased risk. Those are kind of scary numbers, but this is no time to focus on the bad side. So today, let's talk about what we can do to make our lives as productive as possible. Hopefully, prevent dementia. Here we go. So what is dementia? Just hearing the word dementia is heartbreaking. In worst case scenarios, a person can lose their personality and completely forget family members. A moderate form of dementia can still cause memory loss, problems doing simple things, mood swings, and more. Dementia is the loss of cognitive functioning like thinking, remembering, and reasoning, and interferes with a person's daily life and activities. Some people with dementia cannot control their emotions, and their personality is changed. Dementia can range from severe to mild. Dementia is not a normal part of aging, but 1/3 of all people over age 85 have some form of dementia. There are several types of dementia. Alzheimer's is the most common dementia diagnosis in adults, in older adults. Frontotemporal dementia is a rare form and tends to occur in people younger than 60. Lewy body dementia usually starts at around age 50, and slightly more men are affected. There's a YouTube channel that I watch, and she shares, along with her husband who has dementia, Lewy body dementia, the progression of her husband's diagnosis. There's also vascular dementia, where the blood vessels in the brain are damaged. And there's mixed dementia, when an individual has more than one type of dementia. Fibromyalgia patients experience some cognitive problems already, not to the extreme of dementia by any means, but fibro is well known in our community. I did a video on what is really going on with our brains. It's considered an attention problem. Our brains will pay attention to some things longer than a person without fibromyalgia does, according to a 2016 study. So just getting dressed in the morning can take us longer and requires more mental thought. But when we're in a quiet room, we can function much better than when we're in a distracting room. We also know that neuroinflammation is found in fibromyalgia. Is that connected to our increase in dementia? Well, a 2013 study reported that anti-inflammatory drug trials were not effective in Alzheimer's. But a more recent review suggests that targeting different parts of the immune system may be helpful. These kinds of assessments are ongoing in fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME/CFS. A small study by researchers at Buck Institute for Research on Aging and the UCLA Easton Laboratories for Neurodegenerative Disease Research completed a study in 2016 of 10 Alzheimer's patients. It showed that memory loss in patients can be reversed. Wow. They used a specific protocol called metabolic enhancement for neurodegeneration, or MEND. The protocol included drugs, but relied heavily on alternative health modalities, including diet, exercise, supplements, brain stimulation, stress reduction, and sleep practices. It's kind of brave of those researchers. I mean, the NIH receives about $1 billion a year of funding, but should that matter? Absolutely not. All of the 10 patients carried at least one copy of the APOE4 allele, or gene. 5 of them carried 2 copies, giving them a 10 to 12-fold increase risk of Alzheimer's. So they say that if you know you have the copy of the APOE4 allele, you can work on prevention. 65% of Alzheimer's cases involve this allele. Basically, combination treatments were the key. They didn't focus on just one drug or just one supplement. The magnitude of improvement in these 10 patients is unprecedented, and plans for larger studies are on the way. How exciting. It appears that I possibly have that allele. It's certainly showing up in my DNA. The problem with neurodegenerative diseases in general is the series of complex changes that occur in cells. The cause and effect is still not clear. When neurons die, a lot happens in our bodies. The buildup of certain proteins in Alzheimer's causes plaque and neurofibrillary tangles. There is impaired axonal transport and inflammation. I've been reading a lot about functional medicine. I see the good. The MEND protocol is a functional medicine approach with personalized medicine, meaning it is individualized for each patient by using health management software. They address all the markers of Alzheimer's. All patients met the criteria for Alzheimer's type dementia, but the milder cases. MEND evaluates and targets homocysteine levels, vitamin B12, sleep, diet, blood sugar levels, physical exercise, and identification and treatment of sleep apnea, as well as stress. All of these things we have talked about in some fashion on this channel for fibromyalgia patients. They tested each patient's hippocampus brain volume and performed MRIs, PET scans, Stroop tests, digit span tests, auditory memory tests, the MSE, mental status exam, and received reports of memory decline from family and word finding difficulties. As I said, they tested the homocysteine levels of each patient and for the gene carrier of APOE4. Patients were instructed to improve their sleep according to their need, where some took melatonin and were tested for sleep issues like sleep apnea. They improved their diet and dental hygiene. They practiced stress management with physical and mental exercise and things like yoga. They took daily supplements such as vitamin D3, C, and E, and citicoline. They took daily doses of coconut oil and curcumin or turmeric, and some needed hormone therapy. Their improved diets included reduced sugar, gluten, meat, simple grains, and they increased their intake of fruits, vegetables, blueberries, and non-farm fish. They also fasted at least 3 hours before sleep, with a total of 12 hours overnight. It did note that not all participants did everything perfectly accurate. Most participants, however, no longer met the criteria for Alzheimer's at the end of the study, or even mild cognitive impairment, and have remained stable for the last 4 years. Wow. 6 of the 10 patients had to quit their jobs or had significant problems at work prior to the MEND protocol. And after their involvement, all 6 were able to return to work or experienced improved cognitive function in their jobs. In a 2013 MEND protocol study, one patient did not improve, but he was in the late stages of Alzheimer's, so early treatment appears to be helpful. This study was very preliminary and very small, but I'm hopeful that a large randomized and double-blinded study will confirm the same results, meaning that half the patients will get the actual treatment and half placebos. There are other chronic illnesses like cancer, HIV, AIDS, and cardiovascular disease that involve a cocktail type approach of medicine and non-drug interventions. So why not Alzheimer's or dementia? But there are many in the scientific community that are questioning this study's results and feel it is unclear or biased. A double-blinded study would mean that neither the researchers nor participants would be aware of who is receiving the treatment. And those questioning this study say it doesn't explain how the participants were chosen or when the cognitive tests were repeated. And the MEND protocol is trademarked, creating concern that the researchers are seeking to capitalize on their results. Despite all of this, I'm hopeful. Imagine reversing Alzheimer's through a series of interventions. I'm also hopeful of a controlled clinical trial with a larger participant group will determine the effectiveness of the protocol. And a note from me, some researchers consider Alzheimer's to be a metabolic disease, like diabetes of the brain. So my plan is to take a look at that in my next video. So I hope this wasn't too heavy for you. Don't get hooked on it, because there are so many things that can factor into any of us getting anything. I hope you learned something. I send you gentle hugs and support. Love you. Is that connected to our decrease? Personality is not, and there's mixed, but when we're in a quiet room, we can function. Here, management. All of these, and were tested for sleep and things like Logan will